I was composing a song with my new Harley Benton guitar. I think that's a looker. I like the looks of a natural wood. Anyway, but I'm not speaking about the guitars. In spite of the fact, one of the most watched video or scene is one where I speak about cheap guitars or inexpensive guitars. Okay, I want to speak about the côté, the side, one side of language learning, which is self-referential. I don't know if it's a really a word that's really used in English. In Italian we say autoreferenziale. I mean, um, you learn the language and you speak about learning like I'm doing right now. Okay, sounds a contradiction, but anyway, um, but many people make learn languages not to use them really, which is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of a language is part of you. You don't study anymore like you studied at the beginning, like you speak English, you speak your own language. I don't know which language you speak, but we don't learn the language anymore. You never learn, don't even know, but even a language you are proficient at, you just use it. The simple fact that you use it on a daily basis keep the language alive and well. Obviously we learn, if we learn, because we learn even our own native language. Every time I bump into a new word, I look it up in a dictionary, and I should keep track of it, writing on a exercise book and reviewing. That makes your active vocabulary broader. It takes a lot of years for a man to be even proficient at his own language. I think we achieved, and then stopped more or less. But there is a gradual, continuous acquisition of new words till you are 18. Okay, that's why a child or a young adult, a child who is 14, doesn't have the same vocabulary of someone who is 18, assuming he attends school. Then we speak with other people. We read books, we watch movies, and we bump into new words every time. I always learn new words. There's a word anyway, an Italian word I discovered, so to speak. But some people learn languages I'm getting out of line. I'm speaking off the top of my head. It's like a language related improvisation. Some people learn languages because they like the process, and you should like the process, and then they give up, or it's like when you people. I was speaking of a womanizer, what's the word I was looking up? Anyway, let's see. Philandering, yes, I didn't know the way it's spelled. It's P-A. Philandering, language learners. They learn the language because they want to have that language under their belt. A level B2 or C1, I don't know. good enough for them to show off on the web, then if you learn much more, it wouldn't make much difference, because you prepare your video, so you, even if I know it, when you speak normally, it's not so evident that you know so many words, because we don't usually use unusual words. That's why they're called unusual, because we don't usually use them, and there it should be used with a pinch of salt, and use at the right moment, not out of place. Okay, some people know words and they use them, but they really don't master these new words. They just want to throw them now and then to show off that they, to let people know that they know. I think that you like courting a girl. You don't court girl, and then, I mean, some people do. That's why they call it womanizer, or Casanova, or philandering, or whatever. And once they get what they want to get, they abandon the girl, or they dump. And that's a bad attitude, because once you get to know the language, you have the rest of your life to use it for practical purposes. That's why languages exist, to communicate with people that live. Now it's different, but the histories, that live in the same area and have common dealings. Okay, that's why when there are mountains or things or natural division, also many times it's also the border of the area where this language is spoken, and that's very sad. I mean, you can do it, but it shouldn't be the many times, since on the web, let's speak out, on the web is the land of showing off. Okay, showboating. It's not the land like anything. You can make the most of the web, so use to have a natural input to, even for Russian. I found some channels that I can find useful even for my level, but I'm not learning always for them. Quite the opposite. But there's another channel I found that very uses realia, tell fairy tales, use hands and images and what's not, to make people understand the story. Okay, it's called in Russian From Afar, and I find it very useful. But I have my books, and I use my books. I always show, but I have this. Now we'll get the second one, and maybe another method to really master the foundation of the language. People don't want to do that. They want to skip the bad part, or they just love learning. Two opposite attitudes. At least those who like the process, okay, they learn a language up to a certain point, and then they keep it alive somehow, and move to another. If you never get into the real feel of the language, the way I see it, I just uploaded another video where it takes from 4 to 6, 8 years to master a language up to a certain point, but to really have the feel like a native speaker, that can tell, okay, he has that accent from Australia, he has an accent from New Zealand, you have an accent for north east of England or southwest of England, or from it takes decades. Let's speak out, because also to when you speak a language, you get into this culture, and there are other things involved with learning a language. Uh, for example, I'm learning Russian and discovering towns, even big towns I didn't know they exist, areas, oh, different ethnicities in the Russian Federation, what they eat, what kind of food. It takes a long time. You say, why would you know that? Because if I speak the Russian, I deal, for the most part, with native speakers of Russian. They have that culture. Okay, and it's par for the course. I also learned this. And my point is that there are different stages. It's like a life. When you learn a language, at the beginning you're like a child, almost like a baby. You don't understand anything, you start and grasp at straws to understand, and you try to make sense, and should be through images, through people who help you to show you things, count numbers, show parts of the body, le mani, la mano, le braccia, la testa. That's the way. And at the same time you learn the phonetics, the sounds of the language. That's the first part, which is, there's a really beginner's part that lasts only at most 5-6 months, where you really are in the mist and you start understanding things in the middle of this big mist of strange sounds, and you don't know where a sound, a word ends, another begins, and then it's a long process. Some people don't like it. They grin and bear it till they come to the point that they can use the language. Other people like this process in itself, and that can be dangerous, because you're right to the rush of learning a new language, or everything. Oh, I learned that. And then when you come to, like I said, with women or men for that matter, the love story, the first period ends. You have another period where you use the language, people correct you, you make mistakes, but you make mistakes because you speak and people understand you. So when you speak, if it's not your first language, if the language you're speaking is not your first language, you're bound to make mistakes. Important is to take note of the mistake and try not to make the same mistakes over and over again. And that's another phase. Then that gradually leads you to a quite fluent way of speaking, which does not mean you are a native speaker. No. And then you use it. Then you decide whether you hone your language skills, you take notes of the new words, you take notes of your mistakes, of idioms that you hear. There are, English is full of idioms, but more than other languages, but any language has their own idioms. You learn idioms, you learn things that native speakers say in certain circumstances, situations, proverbs, whatever, and that never ends. For some people it ends because they reach a plateau, they get understood, they're quite fluent, but they don't give a shit. Okay, if there's not wrong with it. I think once you are there, or you speak the language, writing the occasional mistake you make and in order not to make it anymore, and writing, taking notes of the new words or idiom or whatever I said before, you can, it's very important. Okay, some people always make the same fucking mistakes. I quarrel with an English woman that is not quite long in the tooth, not that I'm young, and I said, you've been living in Italy for how long? 35, 40 years. You cannot make these mistakes after 40 years. She said, for example, perfecto. I can understand that you, in the first 2 or 3 years. No. That's not being perfect. It's like I speak English, I say perfect. No, sorry, but no, I cannot. I just can't accept that. Well, you always have an accent. Yes, but not like this. I don't want to make it long because I have some things to say. So the essence of this video, the bottom line is, accept your different steps. But stadium is the place where you are. Italian stadio. And the different periods, stretches of your language learning, and embrace them. Don't try to be, when you feel I'm ready to use the language in real life, you're not bound to the book anymore, to the recording, but you need to go through the book to learn it, to know it like the back of your hand. To be able to let it go and move on to the following period, which means also reading books, and not at the beginning. Don't spend time watching TV unless you do. Okay, I did my stint of, I spent 3 hours doing what? Okay, now I can have a little fun and spend half an hour watching something in Russian, even I understand 100%. Okay, you just get the sound sometime more, but you don't learn like this when you're still on a A1, A2, whatever, B1 level. But that's something I strongly recommend when everything you've been doing, okay, it's even boring, I know everything, I need some other challenge. That's the idea. Okay? Know where you are at, know what you should do, and when you learned what you should learn, move on. There's time for the textbook, the method with the recording, and there is time for real life. Okay? Obviously, you don't move immediately. When you become quite fluent, you start little to be exposed to something a little bit more challenging. It's not geared towards learners. But anyway, goodbye.